For more on Biden's trip to China, I spoke to Haipei. He works on many advocacy issues for Chinese Americans in the United States, and he's been a TV political commentator for Phoenix TV. He's also a columnist for China News Weekly and China Daily. I asked him what he thinks of the tone of the Biden-Xi meeting.
I have also think a lot about that. What I just read, I heard that Mr. Xi and Mr. Biden has met for 5.5 hours alone. And that's unbelievable. I have never known any world leader meeting on that kind of time scale. I think it's a good thing. I do think that it is very timely that the United States get back into this game of getting the tensions in the East Sea down. Absolutely. I think we are worried that the United States might get into some kind of war or things that it has no interest in getting into. And it's also very timely that it should give Chinese leaders a perspective that what the United States and other countries think about this.
So you would view a long meeting as a good thing. That's a chance to kind of hash things out.
Never heard of that before.
Yeah. Let me ask you about this. Biden's comments in Japan, does that kind of set the tone? Does that perhaps make things a little bit more awkward as he sits down with President Xi?
Right. I do think that there's something good for China's side to pick from that conversation there in Tokyo, and especially that the United States and Mr. Biden has never mentioned specifically the application of Article 5 of U.S.-Japan alliances to apply in that island. That doesn't mean that it is not applying to that island conflict, but choose not to emphasize that in Tokyo. I think it is also send something to Japan that you cannot overplay your hands too. So I think it's a very fair and balanced approach that Mr. Biden did in Tokyo.
Let me ask you about his meeting tomorrow with Li Keqiang. What do you expect to come out of that?
I definitely think that talk will be a little bit more focused on the domestic China issues, like China's next steps of reform, as well as foreign policy. But I would expect that talk will be primarily focused on the domestic and economic and U.S.-China bilateral issues.
Anytime you have two world leaders sit down together and have meetings, President Xi and Premier Li Keqiang with the Vice President of the United States, each one goes in with separate goals. What do you see as China's goals in these talks and the U.S. goals?
Well, of course, for Chinese, their goal at this time, especially with regard to the East Asian Sea, they want to see that the United States not take sides in this conflict. And I think that's right for a Chinese to ask and expect. And at the same time, I think the United States wants to give Chinese some message that China will not overplay its hand either. I want to say one thing here. I do not agree with some voices from China that says the United States has already taken a side with Japan. And I think that's wrong, and I don't think that's a right look at the situation. I think it's a little bit too much of a conspiracy thinking from China. That's not good. I hope that Biden's visit will wipe that out.
All right. Thank you for coming in. Always a delight to talk to you.
Oh, thank you so much.